we talked previously about, in 2000, the year 2000, when there was the whole event that took place in Tipal, where they went into the terrorist camp and prayed for people. Well, during that time, my wife's father was incapacitated. He wasn't able to minister. I mean, he came out of that terrorist camp. He came out of the jungles weighing about 75 pounds. I mean, extreme distress on his body. And I remember people here in the States were calling over, because I was, again, being young, being connected with a lot of pastors. Everybody's fear was, what's going to happen to the church? What's going to happen? Is the church going to, who's in charge of the church now? Who's the new pastor that's going to be leading? And I was like, there is no other pastor. He's the pastor. Well, how can that be? He's not even able to speak. But that's the whole thing. The church wasn't built upon that personality. It was built upon Jesus. It was built upon prayer. So if that piece can't get up there on that Sunday, there's going to be another one. But at the end of the day, all the glory goes to God. So,
can y'all tell the viewers who maybe don't watch JONAH'S podcast, tell them that incredible story of your father and those evangelists going into that area? What led them to being captured by terrorists at that time? Because I haven't been captured by terrorists yet. God hasn't led me to do that. But tell them what led up to God leading those men there and going through that.
They were not captured. My father went on his own, offered them money. So the terrorists would let them in. He offered them money and rice. How many? 20 sacks of rice? Or 50 sacks of rice. And I think $5,000, because they would not allow anybody. They would not allow anybody to even see the hostages. There were 21 of them. Nobody was allowed to come in and see them for 3 months. So it was that time in the Philippines was really I would say people were so frustrated with the government, because here the Philippines was supposed to be a beautiful place, a beautiful country, and here we are, where we have this crisis going on, and people were not coming to the Philippines because of what's happening. 21 hostages were held by terrorists, radical.
Sure. Let's back up a minute, and I'll kind of fill you in. Those who weren't able to during the late 90s and early 2000s. That's kind of when one of the names, Osama bin Laden, everybody knows, Al-Qaeda. In the Philippines, they had their own branch of Al-Qaeda, a base, and it was in the southern islands of the Philippines, in Mindanao, which is one of the larger islands. You go down there, it's predominantly, if you go to the Philippines, 90% of the population is Catholic, Christian. But when you get to Mindanao, that large island, those southern islands, it goes quickly into the vast majority of the people are Muslim.
And it's still that way to this day. A lot of people don't know that about the Philippines, is that they have a lot of that influence.
So what we talked about before is that during that time, some of Osama bin Laden's own family was training people down there, training soldiers. So I was sharing before is what happened is that the Philippines is very beautiful. The most beautiful beaches happen to be in that area. It's kind of sad because the prettiest spots could be in the most dangerous areas, but that doesn't deter. There's some people that there's still some beautiful resorts there, and people from all over the country, all over the world, would go there to scuba dive. They would go there to have romantic getaways. And so what happened is during that time, this group from the Philippines, they were known as the Abu Sayyaf, and it was a radical Islamic group. And what they were doing is they were kidnapping people from these resorts, foreigners, and taking them hostage for money, for ransom. And if you didn't pay, they would behead them. And so it was during that time, there was 21 hostages that were taken from this resort. And of course, the presidents, I mean, these people are coming from France, Finland, all of Switzerland. And so these prime ministers, these leaders are getting upset, that, hey, what's the Philippine government going to do? And the answer was nothing. We can't because of the density of the forest, the jungles. There was absolutely no way in. Of course, the locals down there, they were on the side. They were sympathetic towards the Islamic movement.
Yeah.
So they're not going to tell on them. They're not going to say anything. So basically, that's whenever, just kind of picking up where my wife was speaking, that's where my father-in-law, who was a prominent pastor, is quite well known, is saying, hey, we have to do something about this. But the answer is not going in there, storming in with guns and bullets and bombs. But we believe the power of prayer can change this, where we can get them out, not through armed force, but through prayer.
Yeah. And that's where, like, I read the LA Times article about that. There's so little understanding from their side about it, because they're like they were captured, they were held ransom, and in one part it says they were starved, but then it actually goes back and says they were fasting. Yeah. And I think that's the radical thing when you think about it, is like your dad at that point already had,
fasted.
And he'd had such a presence already.
Yes.
It'd be crazy for us to think of someone of that standard in the United States doing something that radical in faith.
Yeah, radical faith.
But man, what an incredible thing. So what happens after your dad finds his way into that camp? What then happens with his communication with the terrorist?
Well, I believe my husband could explain it more, but whenever they got there, we didn't know what was going on.
There's no connection.
There was no communication. But nobody knows this in the community there. But a week after they got up, all the 12 prayer warriors and my dad got up there, 3 of them came back to Manila. The 3 of them came back to our house in Manila. They flew back to Manila. They would come in and out. Out of the camp. He said they were not hostages. They were coming back down from that area where they were supposed to be held, and would tell my mom, talk to my mom about what's happening inside the camp. And they're supposed to be held for ransom. They were there on their own. My father told us, God spoke to me. I have to go bring the gospel of Jesus Christ and pray for those hostages. And that's what he did, and that's what happened.
Wow. Thank you for making that so clear. Because I know sometimes, especially when we're trying to report on things happening in foreign countries, it gets lost. And whether it's in translation, politics, whatever it may seem like.
Jonah, we could tell you stories, and I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but it didn't get dicey for them until some of the politicians started speaking to we're doing the negotiations, and it was like government officials were saying, hey, this is a large church. To the Islamists, that there's money that could be made here. That's hand on the Bible. That's the truth. I mean, this could go into a whole different conversation, but it was something that kind of the dirtiness of politics that played into, but regardless, here's the testimony. Out of 3 months, again, they were not held hostage. Matter of fact, the government started getting involved. What's kind of crazy is that the government starts getting involved after these hostages started coming out. They were being freed and getting out. The testimony is all 21 of them got out unharmed.
Amen.
They were released. Some of them were able to get out through, quote unquote, escaping, but they were able to make it out. Yeah.
I did read that, and it made no sense. They talk about, that's what I was trying to figure out when I was reading the article. They talk about an escapee. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't really think, I can't really think of a way like a dude would have escaped. You know what I meant?
Yeah. It's when it came down towards the end, Matter of fact, the Islamic, and this is what's cool, is that the guy that was in charge, the terrorist, the main terrorist, his nickname was Commander Robot. And Commander Robot was actually telling his men towards the end, whenever the government was tracking them, he said, Pastor Almeida's in charge. We follow what he says, and because if we're to go over here, because then it turned into, they were, I mean, the bullets were flying, the bombs were dropping around them. I mean, that's a miracle in itself that these men were not killed. None of them.
And even in like the LA Times account, they had talked about how what happened was the army moves in and almost right away the terrorist group leaves.
Yeah,
that there was a lot of resistance. I'm like, that's not how this stuff's supposed to go.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be some's got to die. They're gonna make good on these promises. So it shows like those gaps in there where they're actually. They had to have had some kind of favor with the terrorist in order that it didn't go bad like it's supposed to go, right?
Exactly.
And thank y'all for sharing that story. I heard it yesterday on Janet's podcast. Not yesterday, Monday. But man, that still resonates with me. What an incredible story.
I have to get you the book.
More,
It's amazing.
What's the book? I'll make sure to leave a link for it.
The book is called Miracles in Moral Land. And it's just the story of the different viewpoints, the different stories from all the different preachers, the ones that we would call prayer warriors, because they prayed for 40 days, fasted before going in there, that God would just protect them, keep them safe. And so they gave the accounts that they had and their views and what they went through. So it's a great book. I have to get a copy for you.
That's so good, man.